Most of us have heard, "Blessed are the poor in spirit," so many times that we stopped hearing it. We assume we know what it means. Humility, emotional meekness, spiritual modesty. Don't think too highly of yourself. But here's the problem, that reading makes this beatitude the mildest thing Jesus ever said, a gentle reminder not to be arrogant. And Jesus is standing on a hillside in Galilee, looking at fishermen, tax collectors, the sick, the desperate, and opening his greatest sermon with a whisper about emotional modesty. That's not what's happening here. Matthew 5:3, the very first word Jesus speaks in the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the ptōchoi to pneumati. In Greek, there are two words for poor. The first is penēs, someone who works with their hands, who has little but gets by. Ordinary poverty. The second word is ptōchos. It comes from the verb ptoso, to crouch, to cower, to shrink. A ptōchos is not just poor. A ptōchos is a beggar, someone with absolutely nothing, someone who survives only because others throw them something. Jesus did not say penēs, he said ptōchos, and then he said to pneumati, in spirit, the spiritually destitute, not the spiritually modest, the ones with nothing to bring. So what does the tradition make of this? At the literal level, Jesus is making a shocking reversal. In first-century Judaism, spiritual poverty was not a virtue. The righteous person had accumulated Torah, prayer, faithfulness. You showed up to God with a spiritual resume. Jesus opens his sermon by blessing the ones who have no resume. Augustine was the first to anchor this theologically. In his commentary on the Sermon on the Mount, he argues that ptōchos to pneumati describes the person who is not puffed up before God. But Augustine goes deeper than mere modesty. Pride is the root of every sin. You cannot receive any of the beatitudes that follow until you have been emptied of the illusion that you can earn them. Thomas Aquinas built on this. Poverty of spirit is the first beatitude, not because humility is the most important virtue, but because it removes the obstacle. You cannot be comforted if you think you don't need comfort. Martin Luther sharpened it further, writing against the medieval framework of accumulated merit. Luther read this beatitude as the demolition of works righteousness. The kingdom belongs to those who know they cannot buy it, not the spiritually accomplished, the spiritually bankrupt. Now, what does this mean for Monday morning? It means the person who comes to prayer holding their spiritual record, I've been reading scripture, I've been faithful, I've been consistent, is by this beatitude at a disadvantage, not because fidelity is bad, but because if you're holding your fidelity up as the reason God should listen, you've misunderstood the transaction. The ptōchos comes with open hands, nothing to offer, no leverage, pure need. The practice this beatitude calls you to is not thinking less of yourself. It's coming to God with the posture of a beggar, not because you are worthless, but because the kingdom is not a reward, it is a gift. And gifts go to those who receive, not to those who earn. Here's the puzzle from the beginning of this video, resolved. Why would Jesus open the greatest sermon ever preached by blessing the spiritually destitute? Because the kingdom of heaven operates on a logic entirely opposite to the one we live in. In our economy, you earn what you get. In the kingdom economy, the currency doesn't exist yet. You can't earn it. You can only receive it. The poor in spirit are not first in line because they're more virtuous. They're first because they know they're waiting for a gift. The proud are last, not because they're wicked, but because they're still looking for the payment window. Sit with this question this week. When you come to God, in prayer, in worship, in need, what are you holding in your hands? And are you willing to put it down?